Let me just introduce you to Aditi.
Hi everyone. So, my description says that I make paintings which are as tall as me. You can see that on the slide, right? It also says that I make interactive art. Now, who knows what interactive art is? That's good, that's good. And it says genius painter. So I think all this is hyping me up too much. I do not deserve this genius. I have told you to remove it. But in any case, what I think is that you guys are seeing me at a later stage of my journey. You haven't seen the whole thing. Alright, at this point you might think it's not achievable, I can't do this. How has she done this? Is the question that might come to your mind. So that's one thing which I want to answer for you in this talk today. How can I achieve something like this? Not just with painting, because everyone has their own talents, their own interests. How can I achieve something of this scale with my talents? Alright, how do I start? And how do I go about this? So let's have a look at my journey. So you see that painting big is, say, in the center of my journey. So let's go to how it began. In a rather cliche manner with painting classes. I did not wake up one day at the age of 2 with a paintbrush in my mouth, even though sometimes I do wake up at the age of 21 with a paintbrush in my mouth. So what actually started it off for me was basic painting classes. I found a teacher and she taught me how to paint with oil paint, and it's still the medium that I'm most comfortable with today. This lady is, thank you. So this is a lady called Mekla, and she was trained to be a doctor, except she liked art too much, so then she started art classes for other people. And at one point, she said, I want to learn how to paint. I want to go and study at a university. So she left. Alright, and I mean, it's great for her, but I was heartbroken. My teacher's gone. At the same time, 11th and 12th kicked in. Now, we can all identify with our interests and our talents, our creativity taking a backseat because you want to get that university, you want to get an engineering seat. So then you say, okay, I'll just study these 2 years and then life will be nice. So then it did happen. I did come to college and I realized that I had a lot of time free. So I wanted to take up painting again. But now there were 2 barriers that were holding me back. So the 2 barriers was firstly that I had to paint by myself. Okay, no teacher, no guidance. Sure, there can be YouTube videos and stuff. But when I mess up, it's a very specific kind of messing up. Whom do I call to ask what the right shade is? Whom do I call to ask how I layer on this paint? I did not have anyone, so I had to paint by myself. Alright, and that was the first challenge. Another challenge was that now my grandmother was the one who was encouraging me to paint from photographs. Earlier, I'd been looking at photos of paintings. So I'd been looking at other paintings and creating paintings, copies of paintings. Now I wanted to paint from photos. And it's very different painting from a photo and painting from a painting. When you paint from a painting, you can see what the artist has done. When you paint from a photo, you have to make that up. You are the artist. You are making those strokes. Alright, so these were the 2 challenges that I had to face, and this is how I dealt with those challenges. So at this point, I'm telling you this because a lot of you might be facing this. Okay, you don't know how to start, and you're intimidated by it. So the first was how I handled the size of it. How big do you think my first paintings were? Do you think they were as big as maybe a large tote bag? Do you think they were as big as a notebook? No, they were. So this is my phone, and it's not too big for today's generation. And this is one of my first paintings. You see that? Yeah, it's tiny. Alright, so it's about, I think, 3 inches by 7 or 5, 6 inches. It's really small, okay? It's maybe 2 times the size of a credit card. And people might say, why are you even wasting your time on things so small? But it was where I could start. It's, a small step is better than no step at all. So in the beginning, I started with paintings which were this small. And you also realize that if you put a few small things together, you get something which is actually quite nice. So this was a birthday gift that I made for my mother. So this is, all of those paintings are this size. Another thing which I made really simple for myself, no, you can carry on. Another thing which I made really simple for myself at this point is the subjects that I chose. So I chose silhouettes because I was very intimidated by all the details that photographs photographs usually need. So in silhouettes, in each of these 3 photos, if you notice, all I had to do was get the background colors and shading right, and then it's, the rest is like a black shape. So as long as I get that shape right, I'm okay, I'm cool, this painting still looks nice. Okay, so that's how I progressed. And then another thing which helped me was to paint the same thing over and over. I have all my life had a fascination for the sea. Okay, I'm drawn to the sea. If if it was safer, I would go swim in the sea here, but really it's not. So instead, I settled for painting the beach and the sea many times over. Could you just go back? So look at that first painting there. Okay, I don't think it's a very great painting. So you can see that it looks like the sea. But my paintings got progressively better because I got better. I learned to see the sea better. I learned how to capture it better. Alright, so this is how I learned, bit by bit, step by step. And eventually I started making more normal size paintings. Okay, say this big. Alright, normalish. Maybe the size of a notebook or 2 notebooks. But then you ask, how does, and then, of course, the natural progression is that I would reach here. Yes? No? No. It's not a natural progression at all. So, the way I reached here is that I had people who wanted me to make these paintings, okay? They encouraged me. People were asking me to sell them my paintings. So, I had people saying, but I want a really big painting. I know that you've painted on this scale before, but can you paint on this scale? Is that possible? Can you do it? And it's a challenge and I felt scared, but I said, okay, here's a chance and someone's paying me to do it, so why not do it? Go ahead. Okay, and then that made me face a whole new level of challenges and entirely different kinds of challenges. If you want to get a canvas which is 3 feet by 4 feet, alright, which is about comparable to the size of this table, say till about the half of the table. How do you transport it from Mangalore to college? You transport it in a bus and you get a load of dirty looks from the bus drivers. That's what you do. Okay? And then you can't go on painting with paintbrushes which are tiny. So you need to buy bigger paintbrushes. And they ask you, are you painting your walls? You say, no, I'm making a really big painting. And then you also have to buy quite a lot of paint because you realize my paint is getting over and these people, the shopkeepers, are getting way too familiar with my face. So I need to not go to Bangalore so often. Alright, and one of the more challenging things was actually how to fit it in my room because you guys know the size of our rooms. So I had to fit it in my room too. So these were the challenges that I faced in going big and painting big. And I mentioned earlier that I sell painting. Alright, and this is a pretty big component of what I do because it pushes me. I am the kind of person who works with deadlines. I find it very hard to meet my the self-imposed deadlines. I find it easier to meet external deadlines because, sadly enough, I don't want to disappoint others more than I don't want to disappoint myself. It's self-knowledge that I have. So that's all it is. And so, selling paintings is something that helps me paint better because they also constantly challenge me. They have different subjects that they want painted, which maybe I wouldn't have wanted to paint myself. But since they say that I'm going to pay you for it, please would you spend some time? I say, alright, I'll think about it. And a lot of you might think, what's there to selling a painting? You make the painting, someone wants to buy it, and that's it, you shake hands and stuff. But there's a lot more that goes into that handshake, okay, and that's what I'm about to tell you. So, in your journey, in your personal journey, if you have something which you want to sell, it's not just about making a good product. Once you have a good product, people still don't know about it, alright? So then you have to go to people and ask them to buy your product. You have to go and you have to talk to them and say, look, here's a painting for me. Or let's say if you have a great video that you want to put up on a site, you have to say, look, here's a great video and this is why it's relevant. Okay, so the this is why it's relevant is the second part. You have to convince them that it's your paintings that they want to buy. Okay, not other people's, because there's a competitive market out there. After that, you need to negotiate, because even if they want to buy your paintings, even if that want is there, they have to get good deals. But you have to get a good deal too. So, there was when I made that painting of the mountain, we went through a situation in which he said, I'll pay you this much. I said, well, it's a very big painting. I think I'd like this much. And finally, we agreed on a price which was fine by both of us. Okay, and so then there comes the agreement, but not just of what the price is. You have to agree about all the terms. And what are all these terms? So selling is not so easy as sometimes it can be so easy as I have a painting and he gives me money for it. But often it's also different kinds of deals that you can run. So say I'm putting up my paintings on someone's wall, and once it's sold, then that person gets a commission for it, etc. So you can work out a deal in many different ways, and this is what you have to agree on. Once you've agreed, you have to deliver. So sometimes you pay the painting beforehand and then you just give it to them, but then it has to be packaged right. It can't reach them in shambles, right? So you have to package it right. Or else sometimes they've set up deadlines. You have to give me 2 paintings by this date, 3 paintings by that date, so on. And then finally there's the follow-up. So even once you deliver the paintings, it's not over. You have to maybe do some publicity for them, make some marketing material, some posters, some banners and whatnot. So this is actually a really challenging aspect of what I've done. Okay, so the selling paintings aspect is something that I wanted to bring out in this talk today, because once you start selling things, as you've heard from speakers before, once you earn money, once you see that people value things that you've made, it's a big push for your ego and it's a big push for you wanting to keep going at it. Okay, so definitely try this out if you have the time and if this is what you think encourages you. And now I'd like to talk to you about what's next for me. So I've basically divided up my goals into 3 bits. Okay, there's the interactive art. I want to start painting people, and I'm going to apply to universities to study industrial design. Okay, so the first 2 are less practical. They're just personal goals, which hopefully I'll do at some point. And the last one is something that it's a part of my studies. I want to study in this field, and I want to make a career in this field. Okay, so let me talk to you about that. So interactive art is basically when you have the viewer interacting with the art to help make the art. So sometimes it's as simple as there's a cigar painted in the background, and you stand and you pose as if you're smoking the cigar, and that makes up the whole art piece. Okay, or it can be as complex as maybe I sense something from the viewer, say your heartbeat. I understand that maybe this girl is giving a speech and she's rather nervous, and I transform that into something else. Okay, so that can be interactive art. Or I can take a signal from you and hopefully you're excited enough and you're not sleepy, and I can transform that into something else. Okay, so I want to make interactive art, and this I think is really interesting for me because it combines 2 things that I'm interested in: the technology aspect of it and the art aspect of it. So I have to know about sensors, about actuators, and I also have to know about what makes something look good and make something aesthetically appealing in order to make interactive art. So it's a fusion of different fields. Alright, and the second is painting people. Essentially, I'm scared of painting people because you have to be better at painting to be able to paint people than to be able to paint a mountain. Okay, if I make a mountain slightly different, no one's going to know. But if I'm painting you and your nose is crooked, everyone will know. Right? So, yeah. So painting people is the next challenge, and the first one I started off with is I was very ambitious and I wanted to paint my mother in a single night. Didn't quite work out, but I've started at it. Alright, and the third one is industrial design, and this is where I think a lot of you might be interested because, finally, we're all a bunch of bright people. We have a lot of different interests. Okay, and not all of these interests are technological. Even though we are interested in technology, we are mildly interested in what we study here, at least. Suraj is not. Alright, that's good. But basically, if you want to make use of what you studied here and what your interest is, you should look for fields like that. Alright, for me, industrial design is a field like that. So when universities take applicants for industrial design, they tell me that you can apply even if you're an engineer, an architect, a designer, whatever it is. And what you do is you apply design principles to mass-produced objects, like phones, like iPods. So hopefully one day I'll be designing the phone that's in your hand, or the iPod that you use. Okay, it's ambitious, but why not? So that's what I want to do. And technology will come into play because you have to optimize all those processes. You have to make sure that it's cost effective. You have to make sure that the materials you use are right. And at the same time, people are going to use it. People need to want to use it. People need to love it when they hold it. So that's where the design and the art aspect comes in. Okay, and for some of you, I don't want to keep it extremely art related. Say someone's interested in music. Okay, they could maybe think of taking a course in studio studio engineering, in which they try and see what are the variables that go into making a studio. So that combines two of their passions. Maybe you're a game developer, you want to develop a game, so you could do that. Maybe you're a game designer, so you design the environment that the world that the game takes place in. What I'm saying is that there's a plethora of options out there which are slightly deviant, which still require the skills that you have learned right here. So you don't have to waste these 4 years. You can use them and you can do something that you love. And hopefully that's what I'll be doing soon. Thank you.